So this said, let's talk about what do cars, stars, and parts have in common with behavioral interview, or have to do, I would say. Um, so it is. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's not actually the objects that I'm referring to, but it's acronyms. So CAR stands for. They are the three of them basically are interviewing frameworks. CAR stands for context action result. STAR stands for situation task action result, and PAR stands for problem action result. The ingredients for a winning example in the three, let's say, frameworks are pretty much the same, because there is no difference among the three, apart from the fact that maybe STAR is a bit more detailed. They are all the three are extremely helpful for you to build an answer that is, let's say, as sharp as possible and gives the person on the other side exactly the information he needs. So how is a winning example structured? It's always the same. It basically starts with describing the challenge, basically what makes the episode you're talking about memorable or unique or worth talking about. Then it goes into emphasizing what you did to make the difference. So what is that you do, what is in terms of decision actions, I don't know, influencing or whatever. And finally you get into the results part. So what is that you accomplish. Here, worth mentioning that the STAR framework, you can see it's slightly different. So the STAR framework asks you to separate task and action, basically meaning you have to separate what is your position, what is your objective, and then what you did to accomplish that. But I mean, honestly, it's a very minor thing, and it doesn't really make a difference if you prepare in a car or star or par fashion. One thing you have to keep in mind is that usually a good example, last my point of view, is 2 minutes. So try to target 2 minutes for a good example. Also, obviously, you will not talk for the same amount of time for each, let's say, item. You can expect to give more time to talk about the context, then sometimes talk about what you did, and then relatively little time about the result, because the result is kind of straightforward. Now, keep in mind that for the interviewer, obviously, there is not the order of importance. So he will take some notes on the context, but he's very much interested in what you did, what you did. So the action you took, and to some extent the results. But the results is more, let's say, interesting also for probing more. So keep in mind that the time you spend is not proportional to how important it is for the interviewer. So now, this said, how do you develop a winning example apart from following this simple, let's say, framework? There are 5 tricks that I want to share with you on how to develop a good car. The first one is you have to develop a compelling story. And to develop a compelling story, my advice is do not only look back at your previous internships, previous works, previous universities, previous assignments, whatever, but look also at your life in general. Look for those eureka moments, really, for those moments where you felt you accomplished something, and uncover the theme for the interviewer. So make sure that you clarify what are you talking about, what are the things in your life that really shaped who you are, and why you're bringing that example, and why you think it's worth talking about it. So this is point number 1. Point number 2, make sure that you tailor your story to the job. And what I'm saying here is different. I mean, if depending both on the type of job and the type of company you're applying for, the story you can bring can be more or less relevant. So if you think about it, if you're applying for a sales job, obviously it's going to be very important that you bring up examples of how you influenced or interacted with I don't know, external. Maybe you're not gonna, I mean, assuming you're students, your customers are usually I would say maybe your professors at university, or maybe in private life you organize something, I don't know, you lead a group of students, or you organize events or whatever. So bring up examples that are more, let's say, focused towards external parties which may have very different interests from you. On the other hand, if you're applying for a job where you're expected to work with a lot of co-workers from the same company, it will make sense to bring examples on how, for example, you influenced your team when you were doing a university project, or when you were organizing something with other people, or stuff like this. So again, very important that you make the example relevant to the job. Point number 3, prepare the structure of what you want to say, but do not script. And the reason why I'm saying that is that the questions are usually, there are plenty of questions on that can be asked at behavior interviews. You can Google them and you will see, you can find hundreds of them, but to be fair, they all root back to somehow to the same themes. However, it just doesn't look smart if the interviewer asks you one thing and you have prepared a slightly different answer, and you answer in a slightly different way. So make sure that you have clear in mind what are the themes you want to talk about, but then be flexible on how you're going to talk about that. So do not script, do not rehearse necessarily what you're going to say, but rather the big themes. Number 4, don't let work or school be your life. This is very much something I learned also interviewing. Usually the most interesting examples are not those related to previous work or to university, but usually the most interesting points are really those related to the passions you have. Some people lead sport teams, some people do charity, some people take extra courses on the side. I'm sure that there are some parts of you, there is a part of you that is not about going to university or working, and you have to uncover that thing, because that helps you a lot to build also an emotional connection with the interviewer. And then I would say point number 5 is design to lead the probing question. This is very technical and not maybe immediate to understand, but it is a very important point, so let me spend some time on this. As I was saying, an initial question will be followed by following questions that dig deeper in what you're saying. So if at the beginning the question is about, tell me about a time when you had to, I don't know, analyze a big amount of data in a short amount of time, obviously you can develop a story about how you were doing a project at university and you put together the data from different data sources and databases, and then here is where you can either kind of expand or you can go to the point. So you say, you can contract and say, okay, I was analyzing this data, the data were in the end we found out that they were not fully comparable, so we needed to clean them up. We cleaned them up overnight, and by the moment doing so and so and so, and by the moment we had to deliver the paper, everything was ready and we got a great grade. So this is the car per se. Obviously, if I tell you this story, there are some follow-up questions that you will naturally ask. The first question could be, for example, how did you understand that the data were not comparable? The second one could be, how did you make the data comparable? The third one could be, how did you motivate your team to work overnight? And I mean, these are pretty, I mean, depending also a bit on where you put the emphasis, these can all be likely questions. And my advice is, do not give them for free when asked the initial car. When asked, let's say, the first question, give only the relevant car. Then when the interviewer will probe you, you can go deeper. This allows the interviewer to have neater and cleaner notes and examples, and it allows you to kind of shine, because obviously the interviewer will have more questions that he got to ask, and therefore more examples. So design to lead the probing questions towards the direction you want to.